Janam Jaivan Rotamam Devim Sostim Vyasam Tato Chayam Udirayet Nastapreshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavadiyat Mashaloke Bhakti Bhagavati Naishti. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 2, Remembrance of Lord Krishna. Today is verse number 23. Aho,
Aho,
Baka, Baki, Yam,
Stana,
Kala,
Kutam,
Jighamsaya, Apayayat, Api, Asadi, Leve, Gatim, Datri Uchitam, Tata, Anyam, Kam, Va, Dayunam, Saranam, Vajema, Aho Bakiyam Stana Kalakutam, Jighamsaya Payayat Apyasadvi, Levegatim Datri Uchitam Tato Nyayam, Kam Vadaya Lum Saranam Vajema, Aho Bakiyam Stana Kalakutam, Jighamsaya Payat Apyasadvi, Levegatim Dachi Uchitam Tato Nyayam, Kam Vadayunam Saranam Vajema, Aho Bakiyam Stana Kalakutam, Sayapaya Yat Apyasadvi, Levegatim Dachi Uchitam Tato Nyayam, Kam Vadayunam Saranam Vajema,
Ahobakiyam Stanakalakutam Jigam Sayapayad Yadapi Asadvi Levegatim Datri Uchitam Tatonyam Kamvadayalum Sharanam Vrajema
Aho Bakiyam Stanakalakutam Jighamsaya Payayat Apyasadvi Levegatim Dhat Yuchitam Tatonyam Kamvadalayum Sharanam Rajema
Aho Bakiyam Stanakalakutam, Levegatim Datri Uchitam Tatonyam, Kamvadayalum Sharanam Vrajema, Aho Bakiyam Stanakalakutam, Jighamsayad Payad Tapi Ashadvi
Jigam Sayapaya Yadapi Asadvi
Lebe Gatim Datri Uchitam Tatonyam
Devigatim Datri Rakshitam Tatonyam
Kamvadayalum Saranam Vajema
Kamvadayalam Sharanam Vrajema
Aho, alas, Baki,
Baki
the she-demon Putana,
the she-demon Putana
Yam,
Yam
Stana,
Stana
of her breast,
of her breast
Kala,
Kala
deadly,
deadly
Dam, poison,
Poison
Jikam Saya,
Saya
out of envy,
out of envy
Apayayat,
Apaya
nourish,
Happy
although, Asadvi, unfaithful, Lebe, cheat, Gatin, destination,
Datri Uchitam
just suitable for the nurse, beyond whom, Anyam, other, Kam, who else? Va, certainly, Dayalum, merciful, Sharanam, shelter, Vajema, shall I take. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she-demon, Putana, although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. Please repeat. Alas, how shall I take shelter
How shall I take shelter
of one more merciful than he
one more merciful than he
who granted the position of mother
who granted the position of mother
to a she-demon Putana,
to a she-demon Putana,
although she was unfaithful,
and
she prepared deadly poison
she prepared deadly poison
to be sucked from her breast.
to be sucked from her breast.
Purport by His Divine Grace ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Here is an example of the extreme mercy of the Lord even to His enemy. It is said that a noble man accepts the good qualities of a person of doubtful character, just as one accepts nectar from the stock of poison. In his babyhood, he was administered deadly poison by Putana, a she-demon who tried to kill the wonderful baby. And because she was a demon, it was impossible for her to know that the Supreme Lord, even though playing the part of a baby, was no one less than the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. His value as the Supreme Lord did not diminish upon his becoming a baby to please his devotee Yashoda. The Lord may assume the form of a baby or a shape other than that of a human being, but it doesn't make the slightest difference. He is always the same Supreme. A living creature, however powerful he may become by dint of severe penance, can never become equal to the Supreme Lord. Lord Krishna accepted the motherhood of Putana because she pretended to be an affectionate mother, allowing Krishna to suck her breast. The Lord accepts the least qualification of a living entity and awards him the highest reward. That is the standard of his character. Therefore, who but the Supreme Lord can be the ultimate shelter? Shri Guru Padakavalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Guru Sabrajatam Sahaganam Bhagavatam Vigam Naguna Sandudi Navando Dagatpate Chagatpate Gopis Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Jayatam Surto Pangur Mama Mata Tergati Mansva Padam Bojo Radha Madanamono Divya Brindaranya Kalpajumada Shiman Ratnagara Singasto Radha Shalom Indadevo Salabi Savior Manos Rami Shriman Rasa Vasarambi Bamsi Bhatta Tasti Taha Parsha Venus Vinarma Pir Gopinatha Shri Suna Tapta Kanjan Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Krishmanos Te Devi Pranamami Hari Priye. Am I supposed to be wearing that? Vanchakal Pacharubiascha Kripasindubiyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Naho Bhagiyam Stana Kalakutam Jikam Sayapaya Da Apya Sadvi Lebegatim Dachuchitam Tatom Yam Kamba Dayalum Saranam Vajema. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one more merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she-demon? Putana, although she was unfaithful and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. So this is a wonderful section to begin the third canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. First three chapters we're hearing from most confidential and advanced devotee of the Lord, Uddhava. It's described that Krishna considered Uddhava to be practically just like himself and a fit person to be able to go to Vrindavan and deliver a most confidential message to the residents there who are suffering his separation. Can you make this louder so I don't have to be eating this like an ice cream cone? I want it like this. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, good, Ram, Hare Hare. So, from many different angles of vision, Uddhava is illustrating the supreme, super excellent, par excellent position of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And showing confidentially, yesterday we were hearing standing before the King Ugrasen, the ruler of the Yadu dynasty, and his superior advice is asked of him, and he gives, and whatever is your decision, please let it be so. So here today, we're giving the description of Putana, which comprehends chapter 6 of the 10th canto. And Putana, as we understand, all the different demons that are killed by Lord Krishna and his Prakash Vigraha, first expansion, Lord Balaram, Lord Baladev, killed. They represent, so it's not that they're just demons, but, but they represent, everyone has a mentality, so they have a demoniac mentality. What does it say in the Bhagavad Gita? So much wealth do I have today, and it will increase more and more. He is my enemy, and I have killed him, and everything will increase by my schemes. Right? What is money? It is the Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune. So the demon always wants to steal the pleasure potency rightfully meant to be enjoyed by the Lord and try to usurp that pleasure potency of the Lord for oneself. Such a policy will destroy the demon and those with such mentality. Just like Ravana, who dared to try to steal the pleasure potency of Lord Ramachandra, Sita Devi. So therefore, real spiritual life, actual spiritual life, is one gets free from this desire to try to enjoy the pleasure potency of the Lord separately for oneself, but one becomes the most loving worker and cooperator to see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very, very gloriously and tastefully making tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Krishna and his internal pleasure potencies, pastimes. In the Ujjvala Nilamani, which is the treatise which in depth with all scientific category and analyzation of the different Gopigan groups, different categories of leaders, servants, different categories of mentalities. There's one place where one gopi is addressing another, that one who doesn't work to unite Radha and Krishna simply lives in vain. Unite Krishna and his pleasure potency together and be happy, Srila Prabhupada says in one place. We meditate upon the deities, Radha and Krishna, Radha Govinda. And Prabhupada says in one place that see how Krishna is enjoying Radharani's company. See how Radharani is enjoying Krishna's company. This is meditation. And the pujari who is dressing and decorating the deities of Radha and Krishna, their meditation is to make them mutually look so beautiful that they will be mutually attracted to each other more and more. So the devotees, they decorate themselves by performing devotional service, and automatically they become very beautiful, being ornamented with the qualities, with saintly qualities. Simply by performing devotional service, one becomes the most super excellent and perfect person, because the natural position of the minute spirit soul is to render transcendental loving service to the Lord under the supreme direction of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Here is an example of the extreme mercy of the Lord even into his enemy. It is said that a noble man accepts the good qualities of a person of doubtful character just as one accepts nectar from a stock of poison. Mirabai, she was a very great and saintly pure devotee of the Lord. She appeared in a royal family, and her transcendental prerogative, which is most praiseworthy and correct but rarely seen, is that she absolutely refused to accept, what to speak of, be forced into marry any man of this material world. that I am simply the Dasi, I am simply meant, I am simply the wife of Lord Krishna. So her family was very, very disturbed about this. And at one time, and there were many perilous attempts on her life. One time her non-devotee brother, it even came to the point, like Hiranyakashipu had decided he's going to kill Prahlad Maharaj for his stubborn unwillingness to be a demon and stay as a devotee of Lord Vishnu. That, because she's so devotional, Mirabai, that we're going to give you a beautiful Shalagram Shila. But it wasn't a Shalagram Shila that they put in the basket, or so they thought. It was a cobra. It was a snake, a poisonous snake. So who is the supreme snake ultimately? It's Anantasesha Nag. So in the presence of the demoniac brother, when she opened the basket, indeed was a Shalagram Shila. You can see that Shalagram Shila today on a lane in Sevakunj near the Radha Damodar temple, the place in Vrindavan where Mirabai performed her bhajan and worship. A very beautiful temple, about 200 years old. Prahlad Maharaj, one of the treacheries of Hiranyakashipu, that he was administered poison, but that poison did not act. So we, one side note, as devotees, we shouldn't think that Krishna would protect us if we knowingly or ignorantly take poison. This body is most valuable gift awarded to us so that we could use it to perform pure devotional service and qualify ourselves for an eternal life of blissful knowledge, participating with Krishna in his unlimited pleasure pastimes. So, all other types of bodies that we see around us cannot facilitate that. I think perhaps here in New York City, the other type of body, well, there's grass and trees, we see a lot of that, but living at the rats, well, I think we see a little more dogs. You know, dogs, for however people think they're so cute and lovable, well, they can't understand Krishna consciousness and what to speak of practice it. So it is our duty to keep this body completely fit and healthy, to be engaged in the Lord's service. And that fitness and healthy, we don't have to find out how to do that or take instruction from some mundane so-called scientist or politically minded demoniac mentality, questionable persons. But we turn to the Ayurveda, we turn to the words of Krishna. Sri Dhanvantari inaugurated actual medical science, and what to speak of the instructions of His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, who himself was, well, as a pure devotee, with the added addition that in his Leela in this world, he was a medical person. So you read the accounts of especially early disciples that had Prabhupada's association in the first 2, 3, or 4 years, that Prabhupada, whatever it was, they would go to Prabhupada. There was no system of management, and even at 26 Second Avenue, yeah, he's right upstairs, just go right up there and knock on the door, and like, I'm God. Yes, very nice. Pranam to you, O God. Now go away so I can do my work. So the ailments or problems that the devotees were having, Prabhupada would give instructions what to do, so to speak, homemade remedies, but very simple, but very, very effective. He was administered deadly poison by Putana, a she-demon who tried to kill the wonderful baby. And because she was a demon, it was impossible for her to know the Supreme Lord, even though playing the part of a baby. So that's, here we should always remember one of the great disqualifications of the demon and the demoniac mentality is they cannot know God. There is a very wonderful essay about about Putana by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and which he wrote in 1932. This is, of course, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, very high genius in his articulation and transcendental predilection of everything. It's most profound, but one has to listen more deeply to understand. Sri Krishna manifests his eternal birth. So as Janmashtami is coming, this is nice to understand the significance. And Prabhupada says in one place, in chapter 2, demigods offer prayers to Lord Krishna in the womb of Mother Devaki. The appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the answer to all imaginative iconography. Some say to Lord, God is like this, God is like that. So Krishna's appearance completely defeats all speculation. He manifests his eternal birth, the pure cognitive essence of the serving soul who is located above all mundane limitations. Now the demon, on the other hand, King Kamsa, is the typical aggressive empiricist. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he is appearing at in the culmination of what started perhaps 300 years prior to him, the Age of Reason. The Catholic Church had done so much atrocities with so many inquisitions over Europe over how many centuries, from Dark Ages onward. And and people in Europe were just fed up with this, especially when new lands, the New World was discovered, and people by the thousands and huge numbers just risking their lives crossing the ocean in boats to go to places. Like this New York there's originally German and Dutch people came here before the British came. And it was all based on religious freedom, in the sense that we have our right to decide our own belief system and not have it interpreted upon or forced upon us by government claiming religions. Therefore, one of the tenets here is separation of church and state. Nice idea due to the oppression, but ultimately it's in the category of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because all you're left with is just nihilistic atheism, which turns into, as Prabhupada said, topless, bottomless passion. Like even now, it's just incomprehensible to me that erasing gender, that we don't address each other as he or she, or even I saw something that we want to change breastfeeding to chest feeding or something, or just all this crazy nonsense, which is totally atheistic and just. So King Kamsa, ever on the lookout for Krishna's appearance, and wanted to destroy and snuff out the appearance of God before it has a chance to, do anything. This is no for the purpose of suppressing him before he has the time to develop. My dear King Kamsa, I think the best thing for you to do is to perform a very aggressive activity to kill any child that's been born in the last 2 weeks, because Krishna might have appeared anywhere. Because the oracle from the sky that you had heard, 8 or 10 years ago, he killed 8 children one after the other, proved false, that Krishna would appear as the 8th child. And to Kamsa, it actually is goddess Durga, his worshipful deity, appeared as the 8th pregnancy. Oh boy, voices from the sky lie. What to do? Well, you have to kill everybody. That's the best way to, realize your political ambitions. This is no exaggeration of the real connotation of the consistent empiric position. The materialist has a natural repugnance for the transcendent. He is disposed to think that faith in the incomprehensible, right? Empiricist, only if I can see it and touch it with my senses. What are one of the 4 defects of the conditioned souls? Imperfect senses. Just like the high-class Brahmin, how could Lord Vishnu be threading a camel or an elephant through the eye of a needle? Preposterous. Whereas the cobbler, oh, my Lord was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle? My Lord is so great. So here, Krishna is no less than the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even though playing the part of a baby. His value as the Supreme Lord did not diminish upon his becoming a baby to please his devotee Yashoda. Putana had, you read in the Krishna book, had some intelligence, some sense. When she took Krishna on her lap, she could see that this baby can destroy the entire universe. Had such potency, she could understand. But her demoniac, everything just pushed her to go forward with the mission and kill the child. Hired by Kamsa. Murder for hire. He is disposed to think that faith in the incomprehensible is the parent, or gives birth to dogmatism and hypocrisy in the guise of religion. Religion is the opiate of the masses. He is also equally under the delusion that there is no real dividing line between the material and the spiritual. He is strengthened in his delusion by the interpretation of scriptures by persons who are like-minded with himself. Right? Democracy, demon crazy. Vox populi. Get as huge pack of barking dogs together, all barking at the same time. It must be right. He is strengthened in his delusion by the interpretation of scriptures by persons who are like-minded with himself. This includes all the lexicographical interpreters, a dictionary. The lexicographical interpretation is held by Kamsa as the real scientific explanation of the scriptures and is perfectly in keeping with his dread of and aversion for the transcendental. These lexicographical interpreters are employed by Kamsa, Facebook fact checkers, in putting down the first suspected appearance of any genuine faith in the transcendental. Someone posted a picture. Does everyone know what is the Three Stooges? Okay. Right. They're like these kind of zany characters from the 1940s and 50s, and they just like acted like stooges, like really stupid. So there was a photograph, and there's three of them, but each one had a unique personality. Mo was, so to speak, the more intelligent one, and Curly was the just complete dimwit, and Larry was kind of in the middle. So there's Mo and Curly. They're shaking hands. They figured it out. Behind them is a chalkboard, and it had 2 + 2 = 3. And they're shaking hands. They figured it out. And you have Larry just looking like, what? And the caption goes, Facebook fact checkers hard at work. These lexicographical interpreters are employed. So, right? What is the saying? Follow the money. Follow the money. Ultimately, wherever there is Krishna, there is Radha. Prabhupada was describing the different... if Radharani is dancing, Krishna can never leave. Or also the deity, like Radha Gopi Vallabha in Boston, she's holding betel nut in her hand, and also in dancing posture. Krishna will never leave. So the opposite is the demon always follows the money. They're employed, rowing along the wind. A landlord once had a sycophantic servant who was always interested in simply flattering his master just to, get some advantage. So one day, the landlord asked him, "Could you please narrate to me what is the nature of potato?" So the servant said, "Well, my lord, please let us hear your wise words first on this matter. What do you think is a potato?" "Well, as far as I know, potato is a nice vegetable." "Yes, wonderful, very good, fantastic, an excellent creation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead indeed." Then the landlord said, "Well, you say that, but actually the potato is very bland and tasteless." "Yes, very bland and tasteless. All types of problems come from this potato, It shouldn't even be considered a vegetable." It says other things. Then he asks him about an eggplant. And he says more or less the same thing. Eggplant brings eternal bad luck, No, at first he says, yes, if one has one piece of eggplant in one's home, that is sufficient to maintain the prestige of the householder. and then when the landlord says, yeah, but the eggplant is considered inauspicious. Yes, very inauspicious. Horrible, bad luck, That's why eggplant has to be roasted before serving it. You're a very strange fellow. When I say potato is bad, you say bad. When I say good, you say good. When I say eggplant is good, you say good. When I say bad, you say bad. Don't you have any personal integrity? Oh, my lord, to be real, I'm not a servant of a potato or an eggplant. Potato and an eggplant are not going to give me my monthly wage packet. So whatever you say, I must say likewise. These are stories from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So, follow the money. People always just go along and say whatever they're supposed to say just so they can get what they think is the most advantage. But their so-called going along is completely false. It's not based on truth, and it's certainly not based on any sincere devotion. In this case, the sycophantic servant to the landlord. He's just simply interested in his own aggrandizement. Brahman is never paid. Never paid. Srila Prabhupada has the wonderful story when he was chastised. There was some older man who was reaching over to him during one of Srila Bhaktivedanta lectures and wanted to get his attention to ask him a question, and Srila Prabhupada, or Srila Prabhupada, yes, and then Srila Bhaktivedanta immediately snapped, "You think you've purchased me?" to the old man. "You think you've purchased me for your 200 rupees a month?" Donation, which was maybe something like 2 lakhs of rupees a month donation these days. Who was it? Chanaka Pandit said that, "Oh, we'll buy you this and that." Or no, there was a king and there was a sadhu, and he said, "Well, we're just living in a thatched cottage." Well, no, my disciples bring me some tamarind leaves. I don't need anything from you. Independently thoughtful. Independently doesn't mean like these crazy, zany people that we meet and have their own concoction. "Oh, I have my own philosophy." Independently thoughtful actually means that as a brain and head and mouthpiece of the Supreme Lord, you make proper ascertainment according to time, place, person, and circumstance on behalf of the Supreme Lord. Just like Srila Prabhupada, "I have created your good fortune." Shrutakirti is massaging Prabhupada. No, we've seen Prabhupada dictate answering his letters in the morning, and one devotee, he was a temple president, temple in America somewhere, asked Srila Prabhupada if he can get a divorce and remarry. And Prabhupada said, "Yes, that's all right." And Shrutakirti was like, and it disturbed him all day. And finally at night, he's massaging Prabhupada, massaging his feet, massaging his back, and then he just couldn't help it. And he said, "Prabhupada, you told that devotee that he could remarry and get a divorce, but you said," but before he could even explain more, Prabhupada said, "Yes. He was going to do it anyway, but if I told him no, then the offense would be greater." This is an extreme example. Prabhupada was like his Guru Maharaj. "Everyone chant 64 rounds a day." "Oh, can't do it." 32 rounds. "Oh, 16, bare minimum." And Prabhupada, he didn't like, "Oh, you're only chanting 16. 16 rounds. Are you chanting your 16 rounds? If you chant 16 rounds and follow the regular principles and stay in association of devotees, you will go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. I guarantee you." So Krishna is accepting what his pure devotee, how he chalks it out. Therefore, no one can go back home, back to Godhead, or make any advancement in the devotional service of the Lord unless they're under the shelter of such a bona fide spiritual master like Srila Prabhupada. King Kamsa knows very well that if faith in the transcendental is once allowed to grow, it is sure to upset all his empirical prospects, which facilitates enslaving everyone in materialism according to their insidious schemes. There is historical ground for such misgivings. And what do they say? History repeats itself. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. That's one important realization of eternal life. You're beyond history because you've learned. You don't need to learn anything from history. You've graduated. Accordingly, if the empiric domination is to be preserved intact, it would be necessary not to lose a moment to put down the transcendental heresy the instant it threatens to make its appearance in earnest. King Kamsa, acting on this traditional fear, is never slow to take the scientific precaution of deputing empiric teachers of the scriptures backed by the resources of dictionary and grammar. It's not the principle of the thing, it's the money.
How much money are you paying people to bark and talk the way you want them to? Or threatening them? You take this money, nice money, like the mafia. Don't take this money, and we can't guarantee the safety of yourself and your family. Protection money. These are the demons. To put down by the show of specious, that's like spurious, questionable arguments based on hypothetical principles, ram it down everybody's throat, the true interpretation of the eternal religion revealed by the scriptures. Kamsa is strongly persuaded that faith in the transcendental can be effectively put down by empiricism if prompt and decisive measures are adopted at the very outset. He attributes the failure of atheism in the past to the neglect of the adoption of such measures before the theistic fallacy has had time to spread among the fanatical masses. See how the idle mind is the devil's workshop. But Kamsa is found to count without his host. In other words, you can't figure out Krishna, no matter how smart you are. When Krishna is born, he is found to be able to upset all sinister designs against those who are prized by himself of his advent. The apparently causeless faith displayed by persons irrespective of age, sex, and condition may confound all rabid dogs, empiricists who are on principle averse to the absolute truth, whose appearance is utterly incompatible with the domination of empiricism. But no adverse efforts of the empiricists who rule seem till then to be perfectly well established over the minds of the deluded souls of this world can dissuade any person from exclusively following the truth when he, capital H, actually manifests his birth in the pure cognitive essence of the soul. Putana is the slayer of all infants. The baby, when he or she comes out of the mother's womb, falls at once into the hands of the pseudo-teachers of religion. What does Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur say that the Putana demon represents? Deceitful so-called guru. People who are posing themselves as the scientists, follow the science. What science? A so-called guru who preaches sense gratification or liberation or both. In some cases, this may be a person who is engaged in some Krishna conscious activity, but has not realized the course of pure devotional service and tries to give instructions to their disciples beyond their own understanding or without regard for their situations. The inwardly manifest spiritual guide, this is another representation of Putana. The inwardly manifest spiritual guide in the form of the mundane empiric reasoning faculty, the material mind, is also like Putana. In order to show mercy to his devotees, Krishna sucks out the life of the Putana's breast to protect his own innocent ecstasy, which has arisen within his young or new devotees' hearts. These teachers are successful in forestalling the attempts of the good preceptor, whose help is never sought by the atheists of this world at the baptisms of their babies. Baptize them in atheism as soon as possible. This is ensured by the arrangements of all established churches of the world. They have been successful only in supplying watchful putinas for effecting the spiritual destruction of persons from the moment of their birth with the cooperation of their worldly parents. Guruna Sishyat, Napitana Sishyat, Sajanina Sishyat. One should not be a parent or a worshipful superior unless one can deliver his dependents from impending repeated birth and death, and no one can do that unless they give pure Krishna consciousness, devotional service. No human contrivance can prevent these putinas from obtaining possession of the pulpits. This is due to the general prevalence of atheistic disposition in the people of this world. The church that has the best chance of survival in this damned world is that of atheism under the convenient guise of theism. The churches have always proved the staunchest upholders of the grossest form of worldliness from which even the worst of non-ecclesiastical criminals are found to recoil. It is not from any deliberate opposition to the ordained clergy that these observations are made. The original purpose of the established churches of the world may not always be objectionable, but no stable religious arrangement for instructing the masses has yet been successful. The Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in pursuance of the teachings of the scriptures, enjoins all absence of conventionalism for the teachers of the eternal religion. It does not follow that the mechanical adoption of the unconventional life by any person will make him a fit teacher of religion. Regulation is necessary for controlling the inherent worldliness of the conditioned souls, but no mechanical regulation has any value even for such a purpose. The bona fide teacher of religion is neither any product of nor the favorer of any mechanical system. In his hands, no system has likewise the chance of degenerating into a lifeless arrangement. The mere pursuit of fixed doctrines and fixed liturgies cannot hold a person to the true spirit of doctrine or liturgy. Applying it without consideration of time, place, person, and circumstance. So that is the nature of the actual spiritual master. And you see the devotees, the Srila Prabhupada's disciples, their realizations that huge, so many devotees present, how am I going to get close to? But Prabhupada, he was speaking to me. I felt his personal, that class that he gave, that I was in, that the devotee said, with so many people, that class changed my life, which I remember 45, 50 years later. And it's just simply grown and grown. That is the potency of a pure devotee. The idea of an organized church in an intelligible form indeed marks the close of the living spiritual movement. So this ISKCON movement is complete. Prabhupada said that this movement is like my body. So being able to stay with mistakes and ups and downs and not lose faith is based on a very, very strong love and appreciation and adherence personally between the individual and His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. That's the glue that keeps it all together. The great ecclesiastical establishments are the dikes and the dams to retain the current that cannot be held by any such contrivances. So this is the mundane religious and educational systems holding the actual real potential of the pure urge of the soul to truly unite with Krishna, with God, without any gross, subtle, materialistic, insidious imposition. It springs automatically from the spiritual platform. A child, even a dog can take part. Chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. They indeed indicate a desire on the part of the masses to exploit a spiritual movement for their own purpose. They also unmistakably indicate the end of the absolute and unconventional guidance of the bona fide spiritual teacher. The people of this world understand preventative systems that have no idea at all of the unprevented positive eternal life. Neither can there be any earthly contrivance for the permanent preservation of the life eternal on this mundane plane on the popular scale. Those are therefore greatly mistaken who are disposed to look forward to the amelioration of the worldly state in any worldly sense from the worldly success of any really spiritual movement. It is these worldly expectants who become the patrons of the mischievous race of the pseudo-teachers of religion, the putanas, whose congenial function is to stifle the theistic disposition at the very moment of its suspected appearance. But the real theistic disposition can never be stifled by the efforts of those putanas. The putanas have power only over the atheist. It is a thankless but salutary task which they perform for the benefit of their unwilling victims. But as soon as theistic disposition proper makes its appearance in the pure cognitive essence of the awakened soul, the putanas are decisively silenced at the very earliest stage of their encounter with newborn Krishna. The would-be slayer is herself slain. This is the reward of the negative services that the putanas unwittingly render to the cause of theism by strangling all hypocritical demonstrations against their own hypocrisy. But Putana does not at all like to receive her reward in a form which involves the total destruction of her wrong personality. King Kamsa also does not like to lose the services of the most trusted of his agents. The effective silencing of the whole race of pseudo-teachers of religion is the first clear indication of the appearance of the absolute on the mundane plane. Again, the appearance of Krishna is the answer to all imaginative iconography of what is God, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and along with the appearance, simultaneous or even before the appearance, the pure devotee appears. Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskita Deshatarani, defeating all types of impersonalism and atheism, establishing Bhakti Vedanta as the ultimate truth. The bona fide teacher of the Absolute heralds the advent of Krishna by his uncompromising campaign against the pseudo-teachers of religion. Hare Krishna. Aho bhakiyam snanakala kutam chikasayam bahaya yad apyasvid asadvi le begatim dachuchitam tatdonyam kamvadayalam saranam vajeba. Alas, how shall I take shelter of one merciful than he who granted the position of mother to a she-demon, Putana, although she was unfaithful, and she prepared deadly poison to be sucked from her breast. Hare Krishna.
Isn't that this a verse that was spoken towards Kunda to Gadadhar Pandit's guru, his name Pundarik Vijayanidhi?
What are you asking? I don't understand.
I'm just making a comment. This is the shloka that Mukunda spoke in front of Pundarik Vijayanidhi, and then he completely gave up all his external materialism and was in like a ecstatic mood for like a really long time.
Prabhupada in the Krishna book, he's the end of the chapter. It is concluded, therefore, that even a little energy expended in the service of the Lord gives one immense transcendental profit. This is explained. Svapamapyasya dharmasya. It is so sublime that even a little service rendered to Krishna, knowingly or unknowingly, gives one the greatest transcendental benefit. Putana was so fortunate that the same Krishna played in her lap as a little child. The lotus feet of Krishna, which are worshipped by great sages and devotees, were placed on the body of Putana. People worship Krishna and offer him food with great reverence and devotion, but automatically he sucked the milk from the body of Putana. Devotees therefore pray that if simply by offering something as an enemy, Putana got so much benefit, then who can measure the benefit of worshiping Krishna in love and affection? Therefore, only Krishna should be worshipped, for so much benefit awaits the worshiper. She achieved salvation. How could there be any doubt about the salvation of the Gopis, who were so fond of Krishna? Undoubtedly, all the Gopis, cowherd boys, cows, and everyone else who served Krishna in Vrindavan with love and affection were liberated from the miserable condition of material existence. Srila Shukadeva Goswami has given a blessing to all persons who hear the narration of the killing of Putana by Krishna. They will surely attain the favor of Govinda. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radha Govinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribo. Hare Krishna.